Chapter 9. Ginny. Jenny smiled as Graham passed her on his way to the kitchen. It had been a few weeks since the incident with Carl, and Graham had been by her side every day. He'd checked in with her at Kara's bed and breakfast, and even gone apartment hunting with her when she finally had enough saved to pay the first and last month's rent. He was so different from Carl, from any man she had dated for that matter, and her heart warmed every time she looked at him. She was fairly certain she was falling in love with him, but she hadn't said the words yet. They had once held such meaning for her before her mother died. Then they had disappeared from her vocabulary until Carl, but he had distorted their meaning. She wanted to be sure that when she told Graham she loved him, that it was the pure love and not the tainted kind. "You seem to be settling in well," Kara said as Ginny led her to a table. There was a handsome man with her, but Jenny didn't recognize him. Of course, only having been in the town a month, there were a lot of people she didn't recognize. "I am. Graham and Jordan have been amazing bosses, and I can't thank you enough for helping me out when I first got here." Jenny noticed the man with Kara raise his eyebrow at her as she sat down, but Kara just smiled and shook her head. "It's what I do, and I am always happy to help." Though she had started the sentence while looking at Jenny, she finished it with a pointed stare at her companion. There was obviously something going on between the two, but Jenny didn't know what, nor did she want to be in the middle of it. "Well, thank you. Here are your menus, and your server should be with you shortly." After placing the menus down, she turned and headed back to the hostess podium. Graham stood there smiling at her. "Hey, can you meet me in the kitchen when you get off?" "Sure, but I still have 10 minutes, Ginny said. Though she and Graham were dating, she didn't want special treatment. This was her first job in years, and she wanted to feel like she earned it. "It's okay. What I have to show you won't expire." With a lopsided smile, he squeezed her hand and then walked away. Jenny sighed. She was normally a patient person, but now she was curious, and the clock never moved faster when she wanted it to. When her time was up, she forced her feet to walk slowly to the kitchen, though every part of her wanted to skip or run. She pushed open the door and paused when she saw both Graham and Jordan waiting for her. Was she in trouble? She couldn't think of anything she had done wrong, and Graham had seemed pleased when he spoke with her earlier. But why was Jordan here as well? "Jenny, Jordan's got some good news for you," Graham said. Jenny looked to Jordan, who looked like his normal, serious self. "I just got word today that Carl pleaded guilty to several of the crimes we arrested him for. He's going away for a long time, Jenny. You're finally free." Jenny blinked, unable to process everything Jordan had said. Carl was going to jail? She was free? Graham crossed to her and placed his hands on her arms. "Jenny, are you okay? That's supposed to be good news." "It's great news. I just can't believe it. Thank you. Thank you both." Jordan nodded. "You're welcome. Now, I do believe my brother has another surprise for you, so I'm going to take his place managing the restaurant and leave you two alone." Jenny watched him leave and then turned back to Graham. "Another surprise? What could be better than the news you just gave me?" Graham's eyes twinkled, but he just shrugged. "Guess you'll have to follow me and see." He removed his hands from her arms, taking her hand with one of his. Curious, Jenny let him lead her out of the restaurant and toward the small gazebo that sat in the park near the restaurant. A small table sat in the center of the gazebo, draped in a white lace tablecloth with 2 wrapped boxes on top. "What is this, Graham?" "Well, a little birdie told me it was your birthday. I wasn't sure if you would want a big party, though I can throw one if you'd like, but I wanted to give you a few gifts just in case." Tears pricked Jenny's eyes at his thoughtfulness. "I'm so surprised you even asked. I haven't had a birthday party in years, so thank you for not throwing something big. That might have been too much for me. but maybe we can do something small in the next few days? You and Tia and Cara and Jordan, maybe a few others?" "That sounds like a plan." He picked up a small rectangular box from the table and held it out to her. "Open this one first. I'm hoping you'll get some use out of it this weekend." His lips mashed together, but Jenny did not miss the twitching at the corners. Gingerly, she peeled the paper back and opened the box. The words Holy Bible stared up at her in gold lettering from the soft black of the leather cover. Her heart tightened at the weight of the words in her hands. Though it had taken some discussions with Graham, she had finally decided to let Jesus into her heart, and she had found the same peace he had. Her eyes traveled to the bottom corner, where more gold lettering caught her eye. Ginny Darling. Her name. She couldn't remember the last time she had owned a book, much less one with her name on it. "Thank you." Her throat constricted with emotion, and one tiny tear trickled down her cheek, but not from sadness. "Hey, none of that." He reached out and wiped the tear from her cheek with the pad of his thumb. "Don't worry," she said with a soft smile. "It's a happy tear." His own lips pulled into a smile. "Good, because there's one more gift." He picked up the smaller box and held it out to her. Jenny repeated the process with the smaller box and opened it to find a small golden cross with a heart across the center. This time, she couldn't stop the tears from spilling out of her eyes. Carl had never given her jewelry, and certainly never anything so beautiful. It's a cross, so you always remember how much Jesus loves you." He took the necklace from her and fastened it around her neck. Jenny shivered at the soft touch of his fingers. "And the heart?" "That's so you'll remember how much I love you, Ginny Darling." His hand caressed her cheeks, and his eyes peered directly into her soul. Her breath caught in her throat, and before she could think about it, before she could talk herself out of it, the words, "I love you too," spilled from her lips. Graham's smile deepened as his face came closer to hers. Her eyes closed just before his lips touched hers, sending tingles through her body and down to her toes. Jenny had often dreamed of a kiss like this, the kind that made goosebumps erupt on her flesh, the kind that seared its way into her mind. But this was better even than she could have imagined, and she knew that she would be forever changed by it. The end. This has been a reading of Love on the Run, a clean romantic suspense, Men of Fire Beach, written by Lorana Hoopes, copyright 2020, narrated by Lorana Hoopes, audio copyright 2020.